Hi, this is Zak Mir with the US Chartbreakers here at Zak's Traders Cafe for Wednesday, the 15th of May. Starting on with the S&P, which is not far off the record high level, 5264. Probably, hopefully, just a day or two away from that. And above that, looking for that blue resistance line there from back in August, heading for 5420. That could be seen by the end of next month. Ultimately, we could get up as high as 5530, which is the top of that rising September-October trend channel, but the 5430 area, our first level to shoot for. On the downside, not expecting sustained price action now, back below the rising 50-day moving average, 5140. Moving on to the Nasdaq, which has been in celebratory mode of late with the push to a record closing high. Here we've got a rising trend channel from back in September, top of the channel there, heading for 19,300, looking for that by the end of next month, especially while we remain above the now rising 50-day moving average, just under 18,000. There is a rug pull, not expecting it to be lower than the floor of the latest gap, 17,500. Moving on to the stocks, and quite a selection today. First one is AMC, where you can see it was job done, basically, in terms of the price action yesterday. We were looking for the shares to hit the top of that rising trend channel base around $9.80, and obviously we overshot that. That's still the target. Obviously, we're hoping that it will last a bit longer than yesterday's blink and you missed it move. In terms of the lay of the land, probably the old resistance on the way down around $6.40 is the level to regard as a potential support zone. Obviously, we went a little bit below that yesterday, but ideally, there's no end-of-day close back below 640 ahead of a retest of 980 plus. Moving on to a stock which we haven't covered here before, but here we are today, Arcadia Biosciences. Here it looks like we've got a broadening triangle base rather. Here the resistance line target there, $4.20, which we're looking for by the end of next month, while we remain above the 50-day moving average, $2.20. So reasonable setup there on that. Next up, another new name, and here it's Big Lots, rising trend channel base. That's been in place. The trend channel has since the beginning of February. Top of the channel there, $6.40, and we're hoping for that at least while we remain above the latest gap around the $4 level, so above 4, looking for 640 plus, ideally by the end of next month or even sooner. Moving on to a stock which is also in the frame for the bulls. We've got a gap higher for Delcath Systems, a rising trend channel there from basically this time last year, and looking for progress to the top of that channel by the end of next month, that level there up to around $9.70, and ideally we stay on the right side of $6 in the meantime. Moving on to the stock of the week by some margin, which is GameStop. In fact, we looked at it first here when the shares broke that resistance line there from back in basically December around the $16.50 level. There was an end-of-day close around $16.50. Initial target was then up to $20, second target up to $29, third target up to $41, which obviously was delivered yesterday. And the current situation is that once the dust has settled a bit, we're looking for an ultimate target here as high as $76 with the meme fever going on at the moment. Ideally, there's no end-of-day close back below the previous target there, $41. Did see the stock go down to around $35 intraday, but bounced back quite well after that. $35, I suppose, was derived from the old October-November resistance area in that area. So old resistance became new support. Moving on to perhaps a less dramatic situation, which is Harrow Inc. And here, rising trend channel base. We're looking at the top of the channel there at $20.50 by the end of next month or even sooner, while we remain above recent broken resistance, around $13.70. Ideally, we stay on the right side of resistance on the way down towards the $14.70 area. That was the resistance on in the latter part of October. Another situation with a bit of a sizzle at the moment is coming up, Intrusion, and here you can see that it looks as though we've got a bit of bullish divergence coming in there, lower lows but higher RSI trace. That's uptrend line in the RSI window in place since February, so that's quite serious. A break of the combination of the 50-day moving average and the November resistance line around $2.80 could be enough to get the shares up to as high as $5 plus by the end of next month. On to cost, which has been a recent favorite of ours, and you can see from the chart why. It's done a bit of a GameStop in terms of hitting various targets. The initial target here was a broadening triangle top around $4.20. Next one, $5.50, and above $5.50, we're now looking for the upper parallel of that line, where it's actually basically an October resistance line projection as high as $7.70 by the end of next month. Ideally, I suppose it would happen by the end of this month, but we need to hold that $5.50 zone, a previous target for the shares. On to Tech, and here you can see the bull run has been quite spectacular again. Another stock which has overshot the runway. Initial target here $4.60 or so. Next one $6.20, and above that we're looking for an ultimate target here as high as $14 by the end of next month, or obviously even sooner, while we remain above the previous target there, $6.20. Moving on to a personal favorite, which is MicroCloud. Hasn't actually behaved that well in the recent past. You can see obviously it's the price action looks a bit like a heart trace monitor over the last year or so, but looks as though we might have a bit of a rebound within a rising trend channel. We've gapped back into that channel, which has been in place since December, and above the gap, the channel floor there at $2.30, looking for up to $5.40 by the end of next month. But obviously, you can see that the price action there is not for widows and orphans, and it's probably created a few widows and orphans over the recent past. Moving on to Maxion, and here potential for a rising trend channel base. We pushed through the 50-day moving average with quite some momentum there yesterday, and the sizzle is provided by the unfilled gap to the upside that we've had so far. View at the moment is that the longer we stay above $3.50, basically the resistance on the way down in March, April, at least in March, the greater the chance of a move up to $5.80 by the end of next month. Finishing off with a stock which we've looked at quite recently, Sonova, and here looks as though there's progress within this falling wedge, which has been in place since October, November. The excitement here is provided by the way we've gapped through the 50-day line, tends to be a good signal, $4.70, and above that looking for the recent resistance, March resistance, around $6.30, ideally by the end of this month. The stop loss there, the 50-day line, near $4.70. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.